Ambassador Threllax had served the Galactic Council for 3 centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of civilizations across 47 star systems. His compound eyes had observed species of every temperament, from the peaceful Melodians who communicated through bioluminescent patterns to the warlike Krathan who respected only strength. Yet when the council chambers fell silent at his return from Earth, it wasn't his words that commanded attention. It was his silence. Catherine Chen stood at the observation deck of the lunar station, watching Earth rotate below with its swirls of blue and white. As humanity's liaison officer, she had prepared extensively for first contact. The Galactic Council's message had been clear. Earth would be evaluated for potential membership. What they hadn't mentioned was why Ambassador Threllax looked like he'd seen the heat death of the universe when his shuttle departed. "Something's wrong," Aaron Martinez said, reviewing the departure logs beside her. As the station's security chief, his instincts rarely failed him. The ambassador's vitals spiked 17 times during his visit. "Fear response every time," Catherine frowned. "We showed him our best. The museums, the universities, the peace gardens. We even let him attend a symphony. Maybe that's the problem." 3 weeks earlier, Threllax had descended to Earth with scientific curiosity and diplomatic confidence. The humans were primitives, barely achieving faster-than-light travel, isolated on their single world for their entire existence. The Council needed to assess whether they posed any threat before extending contact to other species. His first stop had been the Smithsonian, where Catherine guided him through halls of human history. He observed stone tools that evolved into spacecraft, cave paintings that preceded digital art. But it was in the wars section that Threllax first felt the chill. "You fought each other?" he asked, his translator struggling with his disbelief. "Before you even knew other species existed?" "Yes," Catherine replied simply. "For resources, beliefs, territory, sometimes for no good reason at all." Threllax examined the exhibits. World wars that consumed entire continents, conflicts that killed millions, weapons capable of rendering the planet uninhabitable, and yet humans survived. They rebuilt. They created the United Nations, the Space Coalition, the Lunar Treaty. They turned their weapons into warnings and their battlefields into memorials. "Your species should have destroyed itself," Threllax whispered. Catherine smiled sadly. "We came close. Several times." The ambassador's second revelation came at a hospital in Geneva. Aaron had arranged the visit, thinking it would demonstrate human compassion. They watched surgeons perform a heart transplant, saw physicians treating patients from every nation and creed without discrimination. "This human will receive an organ from a deceased donor?" Threllax asked. "Yes," Aaron confirmed. "Someone chose to give life even in death." But what disturbed Threllax wasn't the generosity, it was the context. He learned that humans regularly donated organs, bone marrow, even portions of their own livers to save strangers. They ran into burning buildings to rescue people they'd never met. They threw themselves on grenades to protect their comrades. They literally died for abstract concepts like honor, love, and duty. "Your survival instinct is broken," Threllax said, his chromatophores flashing distress colors. "No," Catherine corrected gently. "It's just not limited to ourselves." The third incident occurred at a martial arts demonstration in Tokyo. Aaron had thought it would show human discipline and culture. Instead, Threllax watched humans break concrete with their bare hands, absorb devastating strikes, and continue fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate any council species. They trained themselves to endure pain. The ambassador asked, horrified. "To overcome it," Aaron said. "The human body can do incredible things when the mind refuses to quit." Threllax requested data. He learned about humans climbing mountains in death zones where oxygen was insufficient for survival. He read about marathon runners whose bodies entered ketosis, burning their own fat for fuel to continue. He discovered humans who lifted vehicles off trapped victims through sheer adrenaline-fueled hysterical strength. "Your species is insane," he concluded. Catherine laughed. "Maybe, but we're persistent." The final straw came during a simple dinner party in Catherine's apartment. Threllax had requested something authentic, so she prepared her grandmother's recipe, food containing capsaicin, a literal toxin that humans consumed for pleasure. As he watched humans deliberately eat substances that triggered pain receptors, laughing and sweating and going back for more, something fundamental broke in his understanding. Why? He demanded. Why do you seek out suffering? Aaron poured wine, fermented poison that humans drank socially. Because we're not afraid of it, he said. Pain is just information. Fear is just a feeling. They don't control us unless we let them. Thrillax thought of his species, so careful and measured. The council species had eliminated war through logic, conquered disease through caution, and spread across the stars through patient calculation. They avoided risk, minimized suffering, and structured everything around survival and comfort. Humans did the opposite. They launched themselves into space on controlled explosions. They experimented with radioactive materials despite the dangers. They created artificial intelligence even knowing it might surpass them. They faced extinction-level threats, asteroids, pandemics, climate change, and simply adapted. They didn't just survive challenges. They sought them out, grew from them, and emerged stronger. On his final day, Catherine took Thrillax to Arlington National Cemetery. Rows of white headstones stretched across green hills, each marking a human who died protecting others. We remember them, Catherine said softly. Every single one. You celebrate death? Thrillax asked. No. We celebrate what they died for. Hope. Future. Each other. That night, Thrillax filed his report to the council. His recommendation was clear. Do not threaten humanity. Do not provoke them. Do not assume their primitive technology indicates weakness. Because humans weren't just survivors. They were evolution's accident. A species that thrived on adversity, that transformed trauma into strength, that refused to accept limitations. They were a species that looked at the impossible and said, "Watch me." They were creatures who would rather die on their feet than live on their knees, who built monuments to failure as motivation to try again, who responded to "you can't" with "I already did." Now, back in the council chambers, Thrillax finally spoke. Recommend immediate alliance. If we make them enemies... He paused, his eyes reflecting something between terror and awe. We won't survive them. Catherine received the news on the lunar station, Aaron standing beside her. Earth had been accepted into the Galactic Council, not as members but as protected allies. The Council would provide technology, knowledge, and friendship. They would not, under any circumstances, provide conflict. Well, Aaron said, watching the Council's ships maintain a respectful distance from Earth. That went better than expected. Catherine smiled, looking at her home planet. They're scared of us. Should we be worried about that? No, she said. They should be, Andy.